The most terrifying moment in Attack on Titan is not when the walls fall, or when Titans devour soldiers screaming in the rain of blood. It is quieter than that. It is the moment when a child learns that the world has already decided who deserves to live and who must die. In that instant, violence stops being shocking. It becomes logical, necessary, even righteous. History tells us this moment has happened before, many times, long before anime ever existed. Attack on Titan is often described as a dark fantasy about monsters and survival. But that description misses its true horror. This is not a story about titans. It is a story about how societies manufacture enemies, justify extermination, and repeat cycles of violence, while convincing themselves they are acting in self-defense. What makes Attack on Titan so unsettling is that nearly everything it depicts has already happened in the 20th century in the real world. From the very beginning, Attack on Titan frames fear as a political tool. The walls are not just physical barriers, they are psychological ones. They divide us from them, safety from chaos, humanity from monsters. The citizens inside the walls are taught a simple story. Beyond these borders exists pure evil, and survival depends on unity, obedience, and sacrifice. Eren Yeager grows up absorbing this worldview. His rage feels personal, but it is carefully shaped by the environment around him. Every speech about freedom is paired with imagery of annihilation. Every call to fight is reinforced by trauma. Over time, vengeance transforms into ideology. The enemy stops being individual titans and becomes an entire category of existence that must be erased. What makes this progression so disturbing is how natural it feels. The series never portrays hatred as sudden. It grows slowly, fed by fear, loss, and constant reminders of past suffering. The audience watches characters justify atrocities not because they are evil, but because they believe they are being rational, necessary, inevitable. And that is where Attack on Titan quietly stops being fiction. To understand the bones beneath this story, we have to step into the 20th century, a period defined not just by war, but by industrialized ideology. In the early 1900s, European nations perfected a dangerous narrative that suffering could be morally justified if it served the survival of the state. World War I normalized mass death through bureaucracy. Millions were sent to die not as individuals, but as numbers, acceptable losses for a greater cause. But it was in the decades that followed where this logic became truly catastrophic. Fascist regimes did not begin with genocide. They began with stories. Stories about national humiliation, stolen pride, and existential threats lurking just beyond the borders. Citizens were taught that they were victims first and executioners second. Entire populations were labeled as enemies not because of what they did, but because of who they were. This mirrors the world of Attack on Titan with chilling accuracy. Eldians are not feared for their actions alone, but for their potential. The idea that they could become monsters is enough to justify their containment, persecution, and eradication. This is not fantasy logic. This is historical logic. Philosopher Hannah Arendt famously described this phenomenon as the banality of evil. The idea that great atrocities are not committed by monsters, but by ordinary people following systems that reward obedience and punish empathy. In Attack on Titan, soldiers, politicians, and civilians alike participate in cruelty while believing they are morally correct. The most unsettling realization is that no single character believes they are the villain. When viewed through this lens, Eren Yeager's transformation is no longer shocking. It is predictable. He does not become a monster because he abandons his humanity. He becomes one because he embraces the same logic that shaped the world around him. A logic that says freedom can only be achieved through domination. That peace requires someone else's extinction. This is where Attack on Titan delivers its coldest truth. Oppression does not end cycles of violence. It refines them. Each generation inherits trauma framed as history, then rebrands revenge as justice. Walls fall. New borders rise. New enemies are named. The anime refuses to offer comfort. There is no pure side, no untouched morality. Even acts of rebellion are stained with the same blood they claim to oppose. This mirrors real history, where revolutions often recreate the very structures they sought to destroy. What once felt like a story about survival becomes a meditation on inevitability, on how easily humans trade empathy for certainty, on how freedom, when stripped of responsibility, becomes indistinguishable from tyranny. Attack on Titan does not ask whether humanity can defeat its enemies. It asks something far more unsettling. What happens when humanity decides that its enemies are necessary? History has already answered that question, and the answer is never a happy ending.